The U.S. women's national soccer team, which was the heavy favorite to win the World Cup, they've been eliminated. They lost in the round of 16 in penalties to Sweden.
In absolutely gut-wrenching fashion.
And the moment that's been being celebrated right now by the Patriots on social media on the right is Megan Rapinoe. I literally never get it
I
right.
believe it's Rapinoe.
Rapinoe, who is a prominent LGBTQ plus activist, has been very supportive of trans people, which I love as a cis woman in sports. That's really important to combating so much of the right wing narratives. I mean, and she's been dominant for years and part of these multiple uh, this dynasty of the
She's
U.S. women's national team.
she's
But
a really
this was her,
awesome.
she's retiring after
Yeah,
this period.
right.
Yeah.
This was her last World Cup, but she's I think in her mid 30s, which is
Yeah.
usually the kind of dawning age for soccer players. She's a really amazing person, which I don't think any of the listeners of the show are would be surprised to hear because beyond her visibility as an LGBTQ woman, her relationship with other WNBA legend Sue Bird, her advocacy on that front for trans women in sports, as well as her labor leadership in advocating for equal pay and receiving and being integral in the labor fight to have the USWNT make equal pay to the USMNT. To say nothing of also her being one of the leaders in before Colin Kaepernick made the decision
Yeah.
to kneel for the national anthem, Megan Rapinoe did.
Yeah.
So she is really like a trailblazer and also a fantastic moral presence and moral arbiter in this country. To me, we'll get to this obviously. She's one of our greatest patriots.
100%. She's juiced as much as she can out of her platform for in terms of justice, right? Like she's done everything that you can ask, I think, of an athlete using their platform for these kinds of social issues. And naturally, it means that the right wing can't stand her. She missed a penalty kick. It was one of it was a complete rarity because she's been pretty dominant on that front. But there had been signs that the U.S. women's national team wasn't really in the same space that it had been in the World Cups prior. They struggled a little bit in the opening rounds, and there were, these foaming at the mouth conservatives excited to see Rapinoe and the other women representing their country lose. Let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This was Donald Trump truthing away over on Truth Social, his blog essentially. I don't even know who uses it other than this guy, saying the shocking and totally unexpected loss by the U.S. women's soccer team to Sweden is fully emblematic of what is happening to our once great nation under crooked Joe Biden. Many of our players were openly hostile to America. No other country behaved in such a manner or even close. Woke equals failure. Nice shot, Megan. The USA is going to hell. Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah.
The USA is going to hell? Okay, well.
3 exclamation points, MAGA.
MAGA. Got you. Make America great again. What, but we're going to hell?
So I don't know.
That sounds irredeemable. I'm not sure about that. I mean, he's pissed because Rapinoe did not go to the White House after the team won in 2019, and she hates Trump, is open about it. Good for her.
I wish we would get some real soccer analysis from Trump and do it. It's like the midfield.
Yeah. I mean, but
Midfield is terrible.
the hypocrisy here is just so brazen. Let's pull up this tweet from Team USA.
Team USA.
Team USA.
Quote, unquote.
I'm not even joking about that. This is how they identify on social media. This pro-Trump account. They call themselves Team USA, and these people who just love America so much tweeted, "Who else is glad that the woke U.S. soccer team, along with anti-American activist Megan Rapinoe, got eliminated from the World Cup today?" Sounds like all of you guys are really happy about that. And there was more. Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, all those guys were celebrating this kind of thing, sitting on their asses on the couch, being critical of women just because they are somewhat open on social issues and the fact that they have been advocating for equal pay. Benny Johnson said, breaking woke U.S. women's soccer humiliation. After winning back-to-back World Cups, the heavily favored Team USA has been eliminated by Sweden in the 16th round. Team USA's downfall was delivered by anti-America, anti-woman activist Megan Rapinoe's embarrassing free kick here. Okay, gotcha. Everything is a culture war situation for them. The reality is that the U.S. women's national team has been so dominant for so many years that this is bound to happen. I mean,
and also it's the weight, it's the unbearable weight of massive expectations
yes.
too, because this is a team that's won 2 World Cups, and basically when your expectations are this heavy, it basically means that anything short of either a finals appearance or a victory in the World Cup is a colossal failure.
And they were runners up in the one previous in 2011.
Right.
So they won in 2015, won in 2019, and then they lost here because the core of the team is getting older. There were some bright spots. But the reality is like that's just what happens to dynasties. They can't win every single year, especially in the World Cup setting, which like when you get to the single elimination part, it's incredibly difficult.
And there's some real critiques to be made of Coach Vlatko Andonovski's roster decisions coming into the World Cup, in that there was a massive amount of offensive talent, but their midfield was a little bit shaky in terms of who they should have selected to kind of bolster that line to get the very stacked forward group that they had enough chances to score. And so that was the issue that we saw. I mean, they only beat Vietnam in the group stage 3-0. Vietnam is like a pretty low ranked side for the World Cup. Went to a draw with the Netherlands, as well as a draw with Portugal, and so basically squeaking into the knockout rounds, into the round of 16, and ultimately losing on penalties here. With all that being said as well, basically the header that Lindsey Horan had in the Netherlands game, which basically kind of saved them from having to really fight their way back with the Portugal game afterwards in the group stages. Andonovski did not make literally one substitution, even though the offense was sputtering and the midfield was not really giving them chances. So I think this was the same problem that they had under former manager Jill Ellis, that there wasn't a lot of creativity or versatility in their lineup to shake things up and make adaptations, because every other good team in this World Cup knows that they have to do that, knows that if something stops working, they have to counter it and then counter that counter. It's what we see in the NFL playoffs or NBA playoffs, where you literally, if you can't adapt, you die.
Yeah.
And so those things on the tactical standpoint, I think, are completely reasonable. But this is obviously, to say that you're more patriotic for saying you're glad that your own country's team lost in the World Cup, that only makes sense to you if you are addicted to something else.
I just sent you something. If we don't mind just pulling up this tweet.
Oh yeah, sure.
But like it makes sense when the conception of patriotism that they like really hold dear is one that's based in like essentially patriarchy and nationalism. In this conception of patriarchy, it's why the right is obsessed with like our troops are getting soy boyed and why are there women in the military or trans people in the military. It's because patriotism for them is not about loving one's country and wanting the best for the welfare of the people in this country. It's about an extension of like their freaking penis. I mean, I really feel like that is, I mean, it sounds, I don't know, a little bit reductive to say something like that, but that's how they view American might, is one of traditional masculine power. And like, it's not just the United States, that's just nationalism. You see nationalism as personified by traditional masculinity all the time. It's Putin on the horse, you know? It's all that.
Also, sorry, just as some people have pointed out in the YouTube chat, Benny Johnson in that tweet referred to this as the 16th round of the World Cup. It's the round of 16, you dumb motherfucker. Yeah, maybe if you
one
want
F-bomb.
Yeah, maybe you want to score cheap points for your little dumbass Twitch or YouTube stream. I don't even know where he works anymore. The fabulous plagiarist that BuzzFeed hired. You should actually get your fucking facts right before you.
All right, now we're at
something.
2.
Sorry, I apologize.
You're done. You're done. You're out.
Beep.
Canceled. Okay.
But that just pissed me off. It's like, dude, you don't even know what you're insulting.
Of course they don't.
You literally don't even know what you're belittling.
They're in some group chat of like misogynists, and then they just got all excited and to crap on some more women. This was really interesting. I just saw this. Jonathan Tannenwald, I guess of the Inquirer, spoke to some of the Swedish players and ask them about the United States. This is Kosovare Aslani. It's the U.S. They will raise their standards and they're going to come back. I've heard there's been a lot of talk about it, but they will come back for sure. They have so much quality in their team, and this defeat will not take them down. I expect them to be ready for the next World Cup. We see more and more national teams are investing and raising their levels as well. But I mean, they're the U.S. The U.S. have a really good team. So I wouldn't say they're out of the game at all. Don't talk bleep about the U.S. women. I think you should be proud of your team. This is like them speaking to the United States here. You have a really good team and really good players, and they are taking the fight not just on the pitch, outside of the pitch. And this is what it takes to raise women's football to the next level. So I think you should encourage them and be a little more positive towards them. This is, one of the players, speaking basically to the right, who are critiquing the women in this way. This is Magdalena Eriksson. I think they proved today that they're still an amazing team. They're definitely the toughest team we've faced so far in the tournament. They have amazing players. It's like you said, the youngsters really impressed me today. I think both Naomi, I can't see the name, and Sophia Smith had an amazing game. They just
Naomi Girma is the other player, and Sophia Smith.
They're still a massive powerhouse in women's football, and they will be for a long time. So, I mean, they're basically saying there at this point that in so many words, the women's team is a great team, and they're also making real changes in the sport and fighting for equal pay because the U.S. women's national team has been so strident in saying, like, why are we compensated so why is our compensation so dwarfed by the U.S. Men's team when they can't even get into the World Cup some years? They can't even qualify. They're so pathetic. And so for the rest of women's players, they're happy that the U.S. is taking up that fight because they have the clout to do so because they've been so successful.
And also, just to say, like, if you literally, I would encourage our listeners for like literally all of the teams that have qualified for this World Cup. I think there are maybe 3 of them that don't have serious issues with their federations and the countries that sponsor their soccer playing, because all of them also have these same issues that the U.S. have, where there are rampant structural issues regarding pay and conditions relative to the men's side of things. There are many complaints from the youth leagues, the feeder leagues, if there even are feeder leagues, like there are for every single men's side that has any sort of prominence in the world.
Great point, yeah.
Of sexual harassment, sexual assault, abusive conditions, abusive coaches. It happens everywhere. This is not an American thing where people hate America. It's not, the causality is not they hate their country, therefore they complain about their country or they complain about the conditions of their play. This is a global issue, and it's important that the most prominent, most important, and most visible side in the world foregrounds and mainstreams these issues so other countries can do the same.
Yep. And I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I did see online that the goalie for Sweden as well is like known to be very outspoken on social issues as well. So these are the people you guys are rooting
Wokeness.
for. They also respect the U.S. women's national team. They want them to have success. They want to fight for equal pay, and they agree on wokeness. And Sweden's a little more socialist than the United States, and that's a good thing.
So I also just want to point out, I'm not sure if you saw this as well, that because all of this stuff is happening in terms of what we've been observing with these right-wingers, astroturfing their paying attention to the Women's World Cup for clicks and for engagement, that it really pisses me off when former U.S. women's team members like Carly Lloyd, who is one of the broadcasters for the Fox team that's at the World Cup, get upset with the players for after a game going and taking pictures with fans and acting as if that makes them lazy and not unambitious and not focusing on things, and then referring nebulously to, oh, it's something that happened post-2020 when people are focused on other issues. Hey, just literally say you think they're more focused on structural racism and that George Floyd scrambled their brains, Carly. Just make it easier for us.
It just makes the
Post 2020, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Say exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
say what you want.
happened in 2020 that would make you think that the soccer players on the team that you used to be on aren't as focused as they are now? Like support your former teammates. Like that's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, I can't stand that. I can't stand that. I mean, and
Post 2020,
that's just carrying your water for your new employer. And you're trying to make some sort of name for yourself there.
It's also it's straddling the line. It's sitting on the fence between being Benny Johnson and being Carly Lloyd. Post 20, so you just say wokeness then.
Just
if that's
say
what you're
it.
thinking.
Just say it. Have
Yeah.
the courage to be the bigot
Yeah.
in public that you are
Right.
maybe in private.
It just that just annoys me so much because it's one thing to be a right wing crank or grifter idiot like these guys are who are saying it, or be literally Donald Trump. It's another thing to be a person who was on that team and saying
Oh yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.